Hello, everyone. Welcome to CG Live. We're so excited for our conversation today. I'll be sitting down with Rachel Bredow to talk about baptism and also everything God's doing in youth ministry, so you're not going to want to miss that conversation. But a couple things before we get there. First is this coming weekend, it's Family Day and Baptismal Sunday, so you're going to want to show up, invite some friends. There's going to be so much fun things to do for you and your family, and also an opportunity to remember your baptism, because there is resurrection power, because we're united to Jesus Christ, his death and resurrection. So you're not going to want to miss that. Then the following week, May 11th, it's Mother's Day, and so you're not going to want to miss that. We'll have a special gift for moms, and it's just going to be a beautiful Sunday. So 2 huge Sundays in a row coming up, and you're not going to want to miss them. And now, time for my conversation with Rachel. Hello, friends. Welcome to CG Live. Pastor Michael here with Rachel.
Hey, guys.
And, man, there's just a lot going on this coming weekend and then in youth ministry and all that jazz. So today we're kind of hitting all the highlights of everything going on. Let's start with, Family Day, especially revolving around, baptism and, why is baptism such a big deal to us? Why do we take time to celebrate and remember our own baptisms, I guess, from your perspective, Rachel?
Yeah, I just think it goes back to what I really try to emphasize to the kids in confirmation, because their testimonies are coming up soon. And one of the things I'd like them to include is when they're baptized, and where and by whom, not that they remember if they were baptized as babies, but just really that's where their identity lies. And it's nothing that we can do. It's all the work of the Holy Spirit. And I just love that people find their identity in the waters of baptism. Their sins are forgiven. They're washed clean, white as snow, and just the imagery of that. And that's their faith beginning, right? And just to start them on a journey of following Jesus, no matter what age you are.
And the reason why, I feel like we always connect baptism to identity. Well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but the one that is always most compelling to me is because Paul talks about it in Romans 6, don't you know that all of us are baptized, are united to Jesus Christ, right? His death on the cross and his resurrection. And so it's in that union kind of being claimed and united to Jesus Christ, because that's where we want to find our identity in him, because he knows the fullness of our worth, our value. He created us, and so he knows our meaning and our purpose, which is why baptism is so foundational. The other thing I love about baptism and why it's worth celebrating is it's something God provided outside of ourselves. That's tangible, because we're physical beings that we can look to, point to, even put water on our forehead to remind us of our baptisms, where we can look outside of ourselves. So that's where God chose me. It's not about if I did enough good things, or if I prayed hard enough, or if I have enough faith, because there are going to be times, well, we all know, doubt creeps in. And that's when you need something outside yourself to point to. Or in confirmation, I always like to describe it as, and I do this with communion too, this is the difference. In my mind, right, I know Joy loves me, my bride. Intellectually, I know that. Even when I screw up, which is a lot, Rachel.
All of us.
I'm sure I hope Joy still loves me. She does. But when I'm walking out the door and Joy's Michael, I love you. Hearing it from outside, hearing it from her, it hits differently. Yeah. And because so often our minds can play tricks on us or lie to us. But baptism and remembering our baptism is God coming from outside of us and being hey, I love you.
Yeah.
I chose you. So tough luck, buddy. You're mine.
Yeah. And I like to emphasize, with the kids, with confirmation, an important thing to learn is what makes a sacrament. What, and it's the 3 things we say. You have to have a physical element. Yeah. It offers forgiveness of sins, and it's commanded by God, right? So we always go through different things in the church. We're does this pass the sacrament test? Do you have those 3 things? Well, and communion is another one of those where it's it's this gift that God's giving us. Yeah.
And we just had First Communion on Monday, Thursday, which is always so fun to see all the family. And that's another instance where something tangible we go to where God like meets us physically outside of ourselves to be like, hey, I love you. I'm still here for you, which is so huge because, you know, as you get older, you just go through so many difficulties, so many struggles and trials, and man, doubt can creep in, and, you know, but it's a tangible place to go in our worries and fears and suffering to be like, nope, he's still with me. He's still for me. He still loves me. Which is why it's such a central part of like our faith and our life, you know, together. Yeah. You mentioned confirmation students kind of working on their testimonies. You want to describe like, well, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And how are we going to be able to see it?
You know, when we had a class of 50 confirmands a couple years ago, we used to do the live testimonies, sometimes in the service, in the confirmation service, and sometimes afterwards at like a banquet. But because we had so many, we're like, that would take a very long time. And so we switched to filming their testimonies. And once again, that'll be this summer. During the Live Simply moments, we'll be showing different confirmation testimonies. I think there's about 26 kids who are going to get confirmed in October. But you know, we have to like kind of do an outline for them. Like, this is what it'll be. And we want them to mention their baptism. We want them to mention their life verse that they get to pick with their families, and which putting some extra and intentional thought into it. Like, it's something you want to fall back on in the years to come, memorizing it, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe tell a story about how you saw God or, you know, Jesus show up in your life. And really when I teach this lesson about writing their testimonies, it revolves around your story.
Right.
And how it's your unique story, your testimony. No one's going to say that that's wrong. And as they get older, you know, you just build onto that story.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
I'll tell you what, the past couple of years that we've done it, I love it so much. Seeing the kids articulate and kind of own their faith. It is very inspiring to me. And you're right, it really does become essentially kind of like an evangelism tool, because really the invitation is just to share your story. Like, what has God done in your life? And now they actually have kind of like a script that can
this is
fall
what
back.
it is.
This is my story.
So in the last class, we watched 3 of the testimonies from last year, so they kind of get an idea like what it's like. But then, and Bo's gonna hate that I'm gonna mention this, but I filmed Bo talking about him evangelizing to a kid out on the field across the street from our house. He was out there hitting golf balls like he normally does, and this little boy was kind of following him around, maybe a couple years younger than him. And the kid's like, I went to church last night. This was Saturday right before Easter. And Bo was like, oh yeah, I did too. And Bo said, you know, what did you go for? He goes, I don't know. It's just kind of dark and scary. And Bo was like, okay, well, that was Good Friday. And so he kind of, and he goes, do you know why you went to church? And the kid's like, no, I don't really, you know, get why I went. And so Bo explained, he goes, that's because we are celebrating and remembering Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and he did that for you. And the kid's like, oh. And then Bo said, you know what happens on Sunday? And the kid's like, yeah, Easter. He goes, yeah, and Jesus rose for you after defeating death, the devil, you know, and sin. And the kid's like, oh, that's cool. And so I showed this to the confirmation kids, and I was like, did Bo say anything different or new or remarkable or something you don't know? And they're like, no, this is what I'm like. This is what you guys know. And I said, what did Bo do though? That helped is he asked questions, you know, to the kids. So it's like help them get there themselves. So, and I just wanted them to see like this is a peer doing it, right? That you can do this too. Wow,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And then as like a parent, you're like,
I know. We're like, so good job, Bo.
We're doing it.
Yeah. Something's working.
Something's working
by the grace of God. Yeah.
So then, not only are those going to be like filmed and shown this summer, but there's also a lot of other things going on, right? VBS, junior high camp, NYG. That's a lot.
You know, it's funny because the school year's wrapping up and you think things are slowing down. And a lot of times it does. People go on vacation, but for next gen, it just like shifts gears. Instead of like programmatic, it just goes to event based, right? And so this coming Sunday, we're having our senior recognition night. So we have like 11 seniors coming. There's gonna be about 80 people there. This is what's so cool is the quilters, our quilting group, have made quilts for all the seniors, which I'm so excited. So we're gonna have them on display, you know, and they get to pick which quilts they want, just like as a token to these seniors who are essentially going out in the mission field now, right? And we're commissioning them, but it's like, remember us, we're here for you, we support you, we want to bless you on this next phase in your journey.
Yeah. Well, that guy, I already told you, like my home congregation did that, and I still have it. It's like in my memory box. Yeah. The quilt that they made.
Everyone loves a good blanket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not blanket here when it's 110, but yeah, it's just good to get cozy and comfy. Yeah. So we're doing that. Vacation Bible School's coming up June 9th. So, people are signing up like that for crazy. Mike Jessup is a person, he hopefully will be our soon to be youth director. We extended him a call. Him and his wife Sarah and their 2 girls are coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week for their official visit.
Yeah, so keep them in your prayers for sure.
Keep them in the prayers for that. So that there's going to be a change there with Next Gen. So that's exciting. And then also we're gearing up for the youth gathering in July.
Why would you think? Why are these experiences like good or helpful for the next generation? For kiddos?
I know. I think it. I've been reflecting. There's this book. And it's about making moments. And I think having key moments in your life, to be able to look back on when you're older that are like foundational or really formational for who you are and your faith, right? So sometimes I feel like my job is to create moments for kids. And that's not like, I'm not talking about mountaintop experiences. Also, sometimes it is that. Like, those are the things I remember.
Right.
And so it's like, what kind of things can we do that create moments that when you look back on it, you might not remember the exact details, but you remember the feelings that you had around Sunday school, around coming to church, around going to the youth gathering, around going to VBS, getting confirmed, that kind of stuff. And it's like, your church cares for you. We want them to feel safe and loved. And I think it helps, especially too, if you are thinking about going into the ministry, these are the things that you like help you get there and are formational for that. Yeah,
I would 100% agree. Like I often say, like my high school mission trips is why I became a pastor. And the National Youth Gatherings I got to go on, those were really like formative to see like all those kiddos that believe the same. Like, I don't know. Yeah, they are those moments that you just remember.
And
I
think
so
what
helpful.
Helps create the moments is when we have the multi-generational aspect into it. It's like people pouring into people, pouring into people, pouring into people too. And so it's like VBS, that naturally happens because it's like the older kids working with the younger kids. With youth group, it's like this adult leaders pouring into the kids, or like the seniors doing that with the freshmen, And so I think the more you can do that too, the more it strengthens your identity and shows that like you are seen and valued and loved and known. And that's really what we want.
Yeah. Well, we'll shift gears here a little bit. I know at Youth on Sundays, they've been diving into Mormonism with our resident expert, Ryan Barlow. Like, why cover that topic? And I guess, how does that help the faith and maturity and confidence of our own students?
The Mormon aspect and presence in Gilbert, specifically in Arizona, is unique to Arizona and some of the surrounding states. And so the kids have Mormon friends.
Right.
I mean, they 100% do. And so they want to know, how can we talk to them about our faith? What do they believe versus what we believe? So Ryan had this cool diagram. I think he said it's from Concerned Christians. It's a website that's based in Mesa. And it had 3 columns. And it was like, what does the Mormon doctrine teach? What does the Mormon scripture teach? And what does the Bible teach? And it lists like different topics, like God is flesh and bones, he's spirit, and see like how they kind of align or don't align. And that was super helpful and very fascinating how closely Mormon scripture and the Bible actually view things, but Mormon doctrine was way different.
Oh, interesting.
And so I was like, okay, and so which one do they they follow closely? Like, which one is it? And so Ryan did a good job explaining it. And I think it helped the kids open their eyes to, this is what my friends believe. And the other thing that's kind of tricky about the Mormon faith is it's so close to our faith, but it's a little off, but it uses the same words. So being able to identify the differences is really important. Because when you're talking about Buddhism or like Hindu, like
it's clear.
This is like what they believe. This is, the lines are kind of blurred, and so it's good to get some clarity.
Yeah, that is really helpful because there are like differences and distinctions. And too, what I've discovered when you dig into other religions, it does help you refine and have clarity and confidence in what you believe. And so, we don't need to be scared about learning about other religions. It actually can be super helpful, or even questioning our own like beliefs in different things. Because growing up, I was that kid. I was asking like, why? Why do we believe these things? And then you do your own digging, you do your own pursuing, and it just helps mature and grow your faith.
And Ryan did a good job of saying that too. He just said, we're not in awe of them, we're not scared of them. We just need to have knowledge about them.
Be aware like what the difference is, what the differences are. For us, like the people, maybe we have high schoolers, or we have kiddos, or maybe we have grandkids, or we're just members at CG and we love the youth. What are ways that we can help or support or encourage like the youth?
I just want to say that our youth in our congregation are amazing. From the little kids at Sunday school, who come to VBS, to the older kids, they want to serve. They do serve. They are involved in their own aspects. Like it's like when they helped at the gala, I loved that so much.
Yeah,
and it's hard to say no to kids when they're asking for money too. So I feel like we need to make sure they do that. They do that more. But coming up here in a few weeks, closer to the youth gathering, we're going to be creating cards that have each of the kids' picture on them, who's attending, and some personal details about them, and even ways you can pray for them.
Right.
And so we're gonna have them displayed in the courtyard, kind of like we did for World Vision. And we are gonna have you guys take them and pray for them, especially while they're at the youth gathering. So I would just say prayer too. Is the number one way. And I mean, we'll always take financial donations too. I'm not going to say no to that, just to like help with our programs and just to be able to do more and send them on trips.
Yeah.
We have scholarships for kids too. If any of the programmatic things that we do are too expensive for them, because the parents have to pay for a lot of it, help pay for that. And also we have scholarships for kids who want to go into ministry in college. We have scholarships for them too. So that's like a cool, if you want to like help fund that, that's a great way to help commission them as missionaries.
Yeah. So prayer, any sort of like gifts, but also like spending time with them. I know I can think back through like all these adults outside my parents in my life that God put that were like so influential. And now many of them probably don't even know it.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of like on me, but just like you can never underestimate your impact.
Yeah.
On
sometimes
a young
it's
person.
not till later.
Yeah, it's not till later, but it's worth it because they're worth it. But
I mean, like Sunday school teachers, we always need more Sunday school teachers. Confirmation, we have only 2 more weeks left. Our small group leaders are awesome.
They're awesome. Yeah.
But
Amelia loves it.
Already have one who said they can't do it next year. So if you are a male interested in helping with confirmation small group leaders for next year, we would love that. So there's so many ways. I'm not gonna say no. I mean, an easy one is Vacation Bible School that's coming up. We always need volunteers for that. But there's lots of ways.
Lots of ways. Yeah. VBS is like crazy, but so fun.
Yeah.
And so many like community people come to that.
I know.
So it's like not only, you get to be a part of letting the community know that these little ones are loved by Jesus.
If you want to feel like you're part of something, sign up for VBS. Yeah. I think I've probably told this story before, but when we moved to Wisconsin, like we hadn't even moved into our house yet, but our church was doing VBS, and I just volunteered for VBS, and my kids went. I was like, that's how I'm going to meet people, and I immediately met people. Yeah. And I got like, you have to be able to withstand a certain level of chaos.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But it's good.
All right. Well, Rachel, thank you for all the work that you do, for the calling God's laid on your life, and for we're so excited for the testimonies and all the events this summer, the memories these kids are going to make, and excited to see what God's going to do in their life. And so thank you for joining us in this conversation. Have a great week.